Welcome back to Breslov campus. We'll be going into the idea of a person's personal truth and what it entails. To explain that it's true that each person has their own truth and each person is entitled to their own truth. And that's the beauty of Am Yisrael, about the Jewish people, that everyone has a different personal truth, which means you have no right to enforce your personal truth on somebody else. There is a collective truth. For example, we all share a common belief, or we should obviously, in Hashem, in the Torah, in the mitzvot. Nobody's going to come along and say, okay, Shabbat now, I keep Shabbat on Sunday, not on Saturday. If you're Jewish, Shabbat is on Saturday. The tefillin, the place of the tefillin is on the arm and on the head. No one's going to come along and say, okay, I hang the tefillin on my ear now and I tie it around my leg. No one's going to come along and say that. We have a collective truth that everyone agrees. Tefillin is placed more or less in the same area. Shabbat is the same day. Everybody eats matzot on Pesach. We sit in the Sukkot on the Chag of Sukkot. There's the laws of blessings, okay? Dietary laws. Collectively, we have a similar truth. But when it comes to perspectives, personal perspectives, sometimes even political perspectives, this is where you see people's differing views, okay? And now the problem is when a person believes that his truth is the real truth, even for other people, and it's my job to enforce my truth on them, giving no room for their own truth to grow. This is dangerous. Rav Nosson says that everyone has their truth and everyone has their own real truth even, meaning you can't interfere. You have your personal opinion. If your truth is a real truth, you will recognize to let the other person have his room to grow. And if you feel that what you have is good to offer to help him, it'll come, it'll work out. But by forcing your truth on the other person, that's dangerous. An unfortunate example of this was a situation that happened in Uman about 80, 90 years ago, even more, let's say maybe 100 years ago. That the people don't really know, but the Breslov Hasidim who lived in Uman at the turn of the century were people out of this world. There were people that we can't even begin to fathom the devotions. These were people who lived in abject poverty and they gave everything for the service of Hashem. These are people who would get up at midnight every night, who would wake up early in the morning, spend most of their days isolated, not wanting to see the mundanities of the world. Some of them wouldn't even go to work because of the dangers it involved in damaging their eyes. If they would see women who are not dressed properly, etc., in the marketplaces and everything. So you had people who other people would consider extreme, but this is how they were. And their level of devotion was out of this world. Their davening was from a different world, and everything we can't even begin to fathom what it was. And yet there aroused a conflict between two specific groups in the Breslov community in Uman, and there was a machloket, and each one felt that his truth was the real truth. And commenting on that strife, Rav Avraham ben Rav Nachman, who was a leading Breslover at the turn of the century, who wasn't involved with the conflict, he was outside, but he expressed and explained what was the problem here. Is that each person in there talking to Hashem, the attitude was, Hashem, I know the truth is with me, but let the other person begin to recognize that my truth is the real truth. And the other guy said the exact same thing. Hashem, I know that the truth is with me, but let the other guy recognize that the truth is with me also. So each person was going that they have the right truth. Now this is where it's danger, because I may have a truth, I may have even proofs that my perspective is the right perspective. But like Rav Nosson writes, who knows? The other person, because of who he is and the root of his soul and all of this series of reincarnations, which you have no idea who this person really is, and all of his transmission of how he came to this world, all the times from the time of creation until now, what his mission was, his rectification and coming back, his whole picture you don't see. You see maybe a part of the of the film, of this life, in this period of his life. That's how you see him. You recognize him, you understand his perspectives and everything, and you may feel that your perspective is better, but you don't know him. You don't know the other guy. You have no idea what is his real truth, and therefore you can't enforce your personal truth on the other person. And this is the sign that a person's emet is real, is that it doesn't come to infringe and forcefully your way on another person. If your truth is the real truth, then people will come to recognize it on their own and accept it on their own. But for me to enforce my way on other people, that is dangerous. And this is the whole, Rav Nosson writes, the reason why we're still in exile is because everybody, when talking, they're basically talking to themselves. When people are arguing and everything, they want to get their opinion heard, meaning they're only hearing themselves. They never hear the other person's side. They're not open to the other guy's side. Even when arguing this, I know my perspective, and the other guy, he's already in my eye crossed off an X. So while we're talking, he's talking, letting me talk, and I respect and everything, but there's an X on everything coming my way is an X. Obviously, we're not talking about people who have heretical ideas, where it's dangerous to hear what they have to say. But when it comes to perspectives in Judaism, within the parameters of the Torah, of Hashem, of our Emunah, and everyone has a different opinion, a political view. Some guy might hold by Satmar, someone might have a Zionistic view, someone may have a different this and that. Okay, people have different opinions within the framework of the Torah and Hashem and everything. Hear them out, allow them to talk, and don't when talking, don't have a closed dialogue, but have an open dialogue, which means you have your emet, fine, but your emet allows you to hear other people's truth, and you're not afraid, he's going to maybe brainwash me and this and that. Be open and let the other person's truth shine forth.